highlights you might have missed. Check out this pass from James Harden, one of his 15 assists in a win over the Hawks.
Oh, let me see that again. What do you?
Oh,
Nasty.
Oh,
That's
between
nasty.
his own legs. Harden, for a guy that seems like he's always going in like semi-slow motion, he just tricks everybody.
What I love is that he shows that it's a game of skill, not just athleticism.
Absolutely.
Heat, Pacers, Thaddeus Young plays defense. All 6'8" of him playing defense.
Go
Not
kick
so
him in the
much.
head. Miles Turner slows him down. Thad Young throws it out. I like it. And now, I feel like we've saved the best for last year, Jenna.
Ready for it?
Yes.
Cavs, Nets, a game you were at.
Yes.
Nick Wright. And a 33-year-old named LeBron James.
Woo-wee!
You said this might be better than Nurkic.
It might be. I think he was up higher, and it was on two people. Nurkic, you made a great point. Go ahead and make it.
Nurkic was just meaner.
Yeah,
it just felt like it was
angry.
more disrespectful.
Yeah, and it went through the rim with more force. I mean, that went through the rim with so much power in Portland. But this was two people. They both jumped. This one might.
This brought, as Jenna alluded to, I was there. This brought a large portion of Barclays Center to their feet.
Well, I'm sure, I wasn't at that game, but I'm sure everybody was cheering for LeBron.
About 70-30
Yeah.
Cavs.
NCAA tournament time, new topic. And what a state of goodness offered up last night. Kansas punched their ticket to the Final Four with an overtime win over Duke. If you can point to a moment that might have sealed it, this one, freshman Wendell Carter getting called for the foul and fouling out with 2:49 left in overtime. Looked like he set his foot. Maybe he didn't. Refs felt otherwise. Kansas wins. Let's break this down a beat here, Nick. Did the refs cost Duke a win? I know it's hard.
I don't want to say the refs cost Duke the game. Duke had a 3-point lead with 30 seconds left in regulation, and they end up losing the game. Like, that's on them.
Yep.
Duke, to me, was the more talented team, and they let Kansas stay right there. I know Kansas was the 1 seed. I felt like Duke was the best team in their region. What you had heard, if you follow Kansas basketball all year long, people saying this was Bill Self's least talented team, even though, once again, they win the Big 12, they win the conference tournament, they're a 1 seed. I don't feel like you can say the refs cost Duke the game. What I do feel like you can say is, if that call goes the other way, in that moment, Wendell Carter Jr. had finally gotten it going. He scored 7 points at the end of regulation. He was 0 for 5 with 7 minutes left in the game. He finishes the game making 3 of 4 shots. He seemed to really, for the first time all game, be in a rhythm.
Yep.
Would have been Duke ball with the lead in overtime. And so I do think this was an enormous call. And the part about this call that I hate, and I always hate on the block charge calls, but particularly this one, because it seemed like he was more set than the vast majority of kids that get the charge call. The ref's delay. When the ref waits long enough to take 2 steps without signaling, I can't help but feel like the ref is not reacting to the play, but deciding what he thinks should happen. Like, I'm not alleging any type of malfeasance or whatever, but when it's not your gut reaction, it just feels like he's doing the math. All right, which way do I want this to go? And I don't know that that's what he was doing, but I know as a fan, as a viewer, that's how I felt watching it. And so when you add to it, that's Wendell Carter's 5th foul. He's now done for the game. That was their big advantage on Kansas, supposedly, was Carter and Bagley down low, and Carter had got it going. I understand why Duke fans, who, by the way, are not used to not having the whistles go their way, why Duke fans this morning be very upset.
At the very least, when the ref pauses like that, it makes you feel like he's not certain. Whether he's thinking which way the call should go, he's not certain of what he wants to do. I think that was definitely a charge.
Yeah.
I don't think it's up for debates. People are talking about Carter's left or right leg was moving a little bit. Nobody is motionless when you draw a charge. That's not the rule, that you have to be absolutely still or there'd never be a charge call. You know, but that was a terrible call. I'm with you, though, Nick. I can't say this cost Duke the game. I get it why Duke fans would be upset. That was a critical play. They would have had the ball. Instead, the kid goes to the free throw line, hits 1 of 2.
Yep.
They tie the game. There also was the talk about the out-of-bounds play that was
late in the game.
reversed.
They ended up reviewing it. That's the play I hate more than any play in basketball, where the ref could have called a foul on Kansas, decides, I'm not going to call a foul on Kansas, I'll just award Duke the ball. But then it goes to replay. You can't replay the foul fact, the fact that the Kansas player takes takes the Duke's player's legs out from underneath him. And on super slow-mo replay, you see it goes off the Duke kid's fingertips. And on that one, Chris, people are like, well, Kansas didn't score on the play anyway. No, but it would have been Duke free throws going the other way, or they would have had 4 more seconds. Like, Duke had a tough whistle against them throughout the night, particularly in overtime.
Yeah, but as you said, up 3, 30 seconds left in regulation. You got to win that game.
Grayson Allen almost won it.
Yeah, he put in the shot.
That ball went everywhere but the net.
Yeah,
basically.
that was about as in and out as it gets. But yeah, no, at the end of the day, Duke has to look itself in the mirror. Look, a game is 40 minutes plus. In this case, 45 minutes. So there are a lot of things that happen even after, the free throw. The free throw on the Wendell Carter call only tied the game. So you still had a chance. Obviously, you lost Carter. That's what makes it worse, is that it was a foul out, too.
Right.
Oh,
that's what kills you. What kills you is that
foul,
and he was hampered by foul trouble the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, he was supposed to be, he's their second best player. He's going to be a top 10 pick if he leaves. And that's where I felt terribly for the guy, is that's the last moment of college basketball for him, probably.
And that's the toughest part with these things when these guys are seniors. And let's talk about Grayson Allen for a second, because he's one of the other stories to come out of this game. We won't see that very wholesome play of Grayson Allen. How do you think his career will be remembered?
I got to be honest, the first thing that comes to my mind is the dirty type of play that he played. I hate to say it because he's a college kid, but the tripping of players, the kicking players, this year, sticking out his backside to hit a player, it just got on my nerves. It's one thing to happen once, maybe twice over the course of a 4-year career, but he seemed like he was too emotional. He couldn't control himself. He was better this year, but that's what I remember. And secondly, as a sophomore, he looked great.
Yeah.
He's coming off that wonderful, I got to give him props on this, as a freshman, the 16 points to, I don't know,
national
lead him is
championship
too strong, but to play well, second to Tyus Jones, and help them win that national title over Wisconsin, huge. Comes back as a sophomore, has a great season, 21 points a game, shoots well from 3, well from the field. And in his last 2 years, I get it, they brought in some freshman stars.
No, but his shooting percentage went down. He wasn't as good.
He was looking like an NBA, maybe late lottery pick at one point.
Absolutely.
Now.
Tell me now.
It's a mid-second round pick.
Last year, I was hearing late first round, second round type pick. Now he's probably a second round pick.
Mid-second round pick.
If that.
I have no sympathy for Grayson Allen. And it is a weird spot. I had Duke in my bracket. I bet on Duke to win. And I found myself, when that shot went up from Grayson, I was rooting for him to miss.
Were you?
Absolutely, 100%. He didn't. The way he has conducted himself for these last 3 years at Duke, I know he's been there 4, but the last 3 years when this all really got going, he did not deserve to have the glory of a buzzer beater to go to the Final Four. Like, you can call that petty, you can call that mean-spirited. I'm just being honest about my emotions.
Mean-spirited. The stuff he was doing.
I mean, and I hated, and I knew that if Duke made the Final Four, especially on a play like that, the narrative would have been some Grayson Allen redemption story when he hasn't redeemed himself for anything. He's never fixed the behavior. No. He's never been able to control himself. And he constantly gets chance after chance after chance. We asked, did the refs cost Duke this game? Man, not more than Grayson Allen did. Grayson Allen was terrible in this basketball game. He was 3 for 13, including a meaningless 3 at the very end of the game. He was 2 for 12 through 44.5 minutes of the basketball game. So how will I remember Grayson Allen? As a justifiably hateable Duke player who's one of the dirtier players I've seen in the last few years of college basketball. That's all I remember Grayson Allen.
All right, we'll take a break. Coming up, just how much will Steph Curry's injury impact the Warriors' title chances? Break that down next. First things first.